Old Victorian house loomed over them. Boarded windows stared like blind eyes. Detective Miller, a man who'd seen his share of darkness, felt a shiver crawl down his spine. He adjusted his fedora, a nervous habit. "All right, let's do this," he muttered, the words barely audible over the rustle of leaves. His partner, the rookie Davis, fresh out of the academy and brimming with nervous energy, fumbled with the search warrant. "You think anyone's home, Detective?" he asked, his voice betraying a tremor. Miller just grunted, pushing open the creaking door. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay, dust motes dancing in the faint slivers of light that pierced the gloom. A musty, oppressive silence hung heavy, broken only by the creak of the floorboards under their weight. The house sighed, a low groan that seemed to echo their apprehension. Davis, however, couldn't shake off the feeling of unseen eyes watching their every move. They moved through the house like shadows, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpets of dust. Each room was a portrait of neglect, furniture draped in white sheets, personal belongings left untouched, as if frozen in time. They found the basement door hidden behind a tapestry, its surface cold and damp to the touch. The basement was a cavern of shadows, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something unidentifiable but distinctly unsettling. A single bare bulb cast a sickly yellow light, barely penetrating the oppressive gloom. Cobwebs, thick as curtains, hung from the low ceiling, and the rough-hewn stone walls seemed to sweat with moisture. Davis, his hand instinctively reaching for his holster, felt a shiver run down his spine. "Man, this place gives me the creeps," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper in the heavy silence. Miller, his face grim in the flickering light, nodded curtly. He pulled out his flashlight, its beam cutting through the gloom like a beacon. "Let's just do what we came here to do," he said, his voice tight, all business. They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. The silence was broken only by the drip, drip, drip of water from a leaky pipe, each drop a tiny hammer blow on the taut nerves of the investigators. They reached the far end of the basement where a heavy wooden door, its paint peeling, stood like a sentinel barring their way. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dusty room. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of decay and forgotten things. A single cobweb-covered window high up on the wall allowed a sliver of pale light to pierce the gloom, revealing the room's contents. A dusty workbench littered with tools, a few empty shelves, and in the center of the room, a large, ornately carved wooden trunk. The silence, if anything, was even more profound in this hidden chamber, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. "What do you think it is, Detective?" Davis whispered, his voice barely audible. Miller, his eyes narrowed, didn't answer. He approached the trunk cautiously, his hand hovering over the tarnished brass lock. It was a beautiful piece, the wood dark and polished, the carvings intricate and detailed. He knelt down, examining the lock. "Looks like it hasn't been opened in decades," he muttered, more to himself than to Davis. He took out his lockpicks, his nimble fingers working on the intricate mechanism. The trunk's interior was lined with faded velvet, the color of dried blood. Inside, nestled amongst layers of yellowed tissue paper, lay a treasure trove of forgotten memories. A stack of old photographs, tied together with a faded ribbon, a leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age, and a pile of letters, their envelopes addressed in elegant, flowing script. The air was thick with the scent of time and decay, a musty, bittersweet aroma that spoke of lives lived and lost. Davis, his curiosity piqued, reached for the photographs. They were sepia-toned portraits of a family, a stern-looking man with a handlebar mustache, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, and two young children, a boy and a girl, their faces full of innocent joy. Miller, meanwhile, was drawn to the journal. He carefully lifted it from the trunk, its leather cover cold and slightly damp under his touch. The pages, filled with faded ink, crinkled softly as he turned them. The handwriting was elegant, almost calligraphic, and he found himself captivated by the story that unfolded before him. It was the diary of the woman in the photographs, a chronicle of her life, her loves, her fears. He read on, his brow furrowed in concentration, as the woman's words transported him back in time. Davis, his fingers tracing the faded ink of the letters, let out a low whistle. These letters are from the 1800s, detective. Can you believe it? This family, they've been gone for over a century. He picked up a letter, holding it up to the light. And check out this handwriting. It's like something out of an old movie. Miller, his gaze still fixed on the journal, grunted in response. He was engrossed in the woman's words, her descriptions of strange occurrences, shadows moving in the night, whispers in the dark. She wrote of feeling watched, of a growing sense of dread that permeated the house. Her last entry, dated July 18, 1899, ended abruptly, mid-sentence. The final diary entry sent a shiver down Miller's spine. It was as if the woman's terror had leaped across time, infecting him with its icy touch. "Something's wrong," he muttered, his voice tight. Davis, startled, looked up from the letters. "What is it, detective?" Miller read aloud, his voice low and urgent. "The dreams have grown stronger, more vivid. I see shadows lurking in the corners of my vision, hear whispers in the dead of night. The children, too, are afraid. They say they see things in the dark, feel unseen hands touching them. My husband dismisses it as childish fancy, but I know better. Something is amiss in this house. Something evil." Miller slammed the journal shut, the sound sharp and final in the oppressive silence. "There's more to this case than meets the eye, Davis," he said, his voice grim. "This family, they didn't just disappear. Something happened to them. Something unexplained." Davis, his face pale, nodded mutely. He couldn't shake off the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something dark and dangerous, a mystery that stretched back over a century and threatened to swallow them whole. The house, with its creaking floorboards and whispering walls, suddenly felt menacing, alive with unseen eyes. They packed up the contents of the trunk, treating each item with reverence. These were more than just clues. They were fragments of lives lived and lost, whispers from a past that refused to stay buried. As they climbed back up the creaking stairs, the shadows from their flashlights dancing on the walls, Davis couldn't help but feel like they were being watched. Back at the station, under the harsh glare of fluorescent lights, the contents of the trunk seemed even more eerie. The faded photographs, the brittle letters, the journal with its chilling final entry, they all pointed to a mystery that defied explanation. Miller, a man of logic and reason, found himself struggling to reconcile the facts with the growing sense of unease that gnawed at his gut. Davis, still visibly shaken by the experience, kept replaying the events in his mind. "What do you think happened to them, detective?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Miller, lost in thought, shrugged. "I don't know, Davis," he admitted, his voice unusually subdued. "But something tells me we've only scratched the surface of this mystery. There's more to that house, to that family, than we may ever know." The old Victorian house on the hill remained, a silent sentinel overlooking the town. Some whispered that it was cursed, that the spirits of the missing family still haunted its halls. Others claimed to see strange lights in the windows at night, hear whispers on the wind. The house became a local legend, a source of both fascination and fear. Miller, haunted by the unanswered questions, found himself drawn back to the house time and again. He would stand across the street, watching the shadows lengthen across the overgrown lawn, listening to the wind whistling through the broken panes of glass, hoping for a sign, a clue, anything that might lead him to the truth. Davis, however, refused to go near the place. The experience had shaken him to his core, and he wanted nothing more to do with the house or the mysteries it held. The shocking discovery in the basement had terrified the investigators, but it had also ignited in them a burning need for answers. The mystery of the missing family, the eerie atmosphere of the old house, the chilling words of the woman's diary, all of it combined to create a puzzle that refused to be solved. The case remained open, a testament to the enduring power of unanswered questions. The investigators, forever marked by the experience, continued to search for answers, their pursuit fueled by a mixture of curiosity, fear, and a deep-seated need to make sense of the unexplainable. The old Victorian house on the hill stood as a silent reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered, whispering their secrets to those who dare to listen. The end.